Hi, welcome to the Craig Shoemaker Show. If you like what you hear today, leave us a high rating on iTunes. If you don't like what you hear, rate Adam Carolla's podcast. And subscribe to us. You have to subscribe and tell a friend about our show. Put it on Facebook. Say, hey, we really dig this show. Check it out. You can donate anytime by clicking our Amazon banner under Support the Show at craigshoemaker.com. That's Shoemaker, no mocker, no umlaut. I'm not off the boat from Bavaria. Craig Shoemaker, maker of shoes. We get a kickback on everything that you purchase. You can purchase Tom Bergeron's book and go through Amazon, and we get a little kickback.
And if you call before midnight tonight.
Thank you all for your support. Yeah. Our show overview today at 12:15, which is 2 minutes ago, Tom Bergeron will be stopping in. You might recognize him from Dancing with the Stars or his gig America's Home Videos.
Yes, funniest. Not just home videos, because that could be a security camera.
You're allowed to talk now.
That could be.
Do your funnies now. Do your funnies.
You wouldn't let me talk before
you don't have to look into the camera. It's the last I'm going to look into the camera. I know you're used to that with the red light.
Hi, how are you?
He's got more red lights than Amsterdam. This guy. He's got hello. I have to tell the people at home that are tuning in. By the way, Mike Fair is coming up, and that'll all be brand new material as opposed to Tom. We run into each other outside. I swear to God, I almost ran away from him because each person I would introduce him to, new jokes would evolve. And I said, Sifta, save that for the air, damn it.
Yeah.
Right, Christina Cha, back again after a month.
Christina.
Hi, I like it here. It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, you hit the over, by the way.
I did.
There are bets on over/under how long you last with Craig Shoemaker.
Yeah.
Tom is barely. It's 1 minute and he's almost out of here.
I was wondering if your co-host scenario was like Menudo used to be, where you hit a certain point and they just, they give you the Kool-Aid and you're gone.
All right. Full disclosure, he did use that one in the parking lot.
Thank you.
He actually brought it here.
I brought it in.
And I outed you, but I shouldn't. Next time you do a joke that you said in the parking lot, I'm going to just act like it was fresh.
Act natural.
Because that's why I was begging you to do that, to save those gems. This guy is so freaking funny. I don't think people understand that. They don't understand that from you hosting the show. You don't get to be as funny as you'd like.
No, you're much funnier in person than you are in ever. I didn't even know you were a comedian in the past.
Well, not really. I just
like to
have
show
a
funny videos.
skewed view of things.
Okay.
Did you do stand-up? Actual stand-up?
Briefly. But see, I did improv theater and radio. Oh. So for me, stand-up is a whole different animal, really, because it's, and when I briefly entertained the thought of doing it, it would be open mic nights, and you're on at 3 in the morning in front of 12 drunks. And
that's your people.
How blatant can we be with language?
You could be completely.
Telling drunks to fuck off isn't really regarded as an act. What's your act? Fuck off. Yeah. That's not usually.
And you don't have standards and practices at 3 in the morning.
No,
though. That's
don't.
the thing that you have with ABC.
Right,
I'm sure they're on top of you.
Well,
do you actually get pulled aside sometimes and say?
I'm pretty good about because
you get it.
Well, Dancing with the Stars is live, so that's responding in the moment, and I know where the parameters are. Although every so often they'll surprise me by bleeping something that I think is really benign. For example, LMFAO was performing on one show, and Bruno Tonioli, one of our judges, was dancing on the judges' table during their performance. Camera cuts to me after. I said, that's LMFAO, with a dancing assist by Bruno WTF Tonioli. They bleep WTF. I said, you know what LMFAO stands for, don't you? Yeah, and they said, yeah, maybe we overreacted. I think, you think?
Yeah.
It's amazing. I was on Joy Behar's show once with Andy Cohen from Bravo. You probably know him.
Yeah.
I said, why don't you just get right to the point? Just call it the real horrors of Beverly Hills.
Right.
They took out the word whores.
Really?
I mean, that is what we're seeing most of the time, isn't it? Aren't we all? At one time a whore?
Well, whoring and
I looked
also...
at you when I said that.
I don't know why.
I totally mean
this is why you go through
gold
calls.
diggers.
I was just tired of looking at you. I just thought I'd take a break. It happened to be during the word whore.
And look at me.
Hey, listen, when he met you, he said, didn't recognize you with your clothes on.
Well,
so let's be honest.
You were on
That's true.
Survivor.
I was on Survivor.
You don't dress all that much in Survivor.
Well, when they put you on the island, I was placed with Ann Taylor polyester clothing, and in the middle of summer in a tropic
Right, sure.
island that doesn't breathe well on your clothes. So I was.
They dress you on the show?
They do. They're like, oh, you what do you do for your occupation?
They're
I'm a
doing
career.
product placement with the few inches that they can work with?
Well, I don't think anyone knew. I don't think America knew it was Ann Taylor, but it clearly looks like Ann Taylor.
Wow.
Interesting. I never knew that.
Tarzan wore
Yeah.
Ann Taylor.
Tarzan.
Yeah, that's right. Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah,
See, this
Tarzan was on my
That's where the yell
season.
came from.
Yep.
It's very tight.
This is how it works with Tom Bergeron. You set it up, he knocks it down. That's what you do. With you should have continued with stand-up. Not that you've had such a bad career
No, it's
otherwise.
all right. It's been going
I
well.
would pray for your career, although you're retiring from
AFE.
this
next season.
We get the announcement
Next
here.
season,
I'm sure it's been
yeah.
announced
Yeah,
other
it's been
places,
announced, but
has it?
not.
Can I have an
personally.
exclusive?
Yeah, you can have exclusive. Every so often, I'm going to look to you just for solidarity. Yeah, I just.
So you made the announcement.
Yeah.
How do you go about something like that? You discuss it with your wife.
Yeah,
The process is
right, and she knew. Next season's my 15th year on AFE.
Okay.
And it'll be the 25th year of the show.
Right.
And I thought that was a good time for me to, and my contract's coming up, and I didn't feel like going through another negotiation, and it just felt like the right time. You know, when you're doing stand-up, and you know when, all right, I wasn't going to close with that joke, but it just scored so big. I'm 3 jokes away from where I thought I was going to close. I want to leave on this one.
yeah.
That kind of feeling.
I'd like to be able to analyze it like that, but it's not the case whatsoever. I did say I do have an anniversary coming up of my stand-up, and I'm retiring. So
There you go.
I guess
it's
yeah,
very
you go on the
trendy.
fives.
Retiring is very trendy right now. Letterman, Barbara Walters, us.
I like the way it
true.
just puts me right in with a trend. I like the trend with something.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
want it to be
Speaking of
retirement.
trend,
Yes.
you're wearing it.
Would you stop? I
Abercrombie
knew you were just
Fitch
waiting
shirt.
for that one.
No, I was looking for a good segue for it.
Another-
I
yeah,
really
well,
was.
yeah,
I'm
I
like,
got the
where do I
exact one.
segue this?
I didn't-
It's
I just
Abercrombie
noticed-
the
Okay,
Moose.
go ahead, folks. Go ahead. Just rip and read.
Where's the-
read and rip?
Where's
Go
the
ahead.
flying squirrel thing next to
Like
that?
squirrel.
Where's the
Listen,
flying
we're not
squirrel?
on camera for most. Let me just explain what happened here. Okay,
okay.
first of all, I have a new assistant.
Right.
It's the revolving door.
Again,
okay?
with a lot of turnover on this show.
How long have you been here?
What's the common denominator? Him.
Tom came back, which I'm just
yeah.
thrilled and amazed,
Yeah.
even though we're 15 minutes late running here. So what happened was, before we came here, I stopped at Jiffy Lube to get the thing and a tire and all this. I left my clothes in my other car.
So you came here shirtless?
So I came here not shirtless.
Pantless.
I'm not literally Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah.
I just had a regular shirt. I turned everybody in the parking lot because they're filming Last Comic Standing here, so we have to be in the parking
God,
lot.
this is a long story.
It is a long story, but you
Yes.
have to explain to people that don't get what you get. So I said, I've got to go shopping, and we're at City Walk, and my new assistant, Sierra, who's the daughter of my old friend, says, somebody says Abercrombie and Fitch, and she literally starts howling, laughing on the spot. You turn the background, laughing, and I'm going, what are you laughing at? First of all, I was puzzled. I didn't understand. Are you familiar with Abercrombie and Fitch? You're my age.
I'm aware that it's a
You
store.
have a teenage son. You should be well aware of Abercrombie and Fitch.
Is
There's
there-
no excuses.
Is there some cult-related thing about them that I'm not aware of?
Thank you,
that-
Tom.
No,
he
I
looks
don't.
just as ignorant as
Yeah.
I did, so start laughing at him,
It is
Sierra.
a
Okay, I know you don't
age-
know him, but there's
What
the
is it?
generation
Yeah,
right
no,
there.
what
He's,
is it,
See, he's
Christina?
looking just as puzzled as I do. If you're not
actually
tuning in
looks
on
good
camera,
on him.
he
No,
looks
no,
just.
but what's the? Is there
We're
some?
getting to that. I just
Okay.
wanted to acknowledge
Yes.
how bad it is that
No.
you're reacting just like I did, and howls of laughter, because
Now-
I had no idea what Abercrombie
Now,
and Fitch was about.
I don't know if out here, but back east they have BJ wholesalers. I think that's hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been on
Yeah,
top of that
really,
for years.
really.
That's an old
I
joke. But
know.
apparently, Abercrombie and Fitch is not for people like us, and that's why they laugh.
Oh.
And I said, "Oh, just go get a shirt there," you know. And I didn't say it just like
Yeah.
Bullwinkle. Okay, Rookie.
Well, it works.
So I got a
With the
freaking
moose.
moose.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's why I just turned into Bullwinkle. There's a moose on my
Rocky.
chest right now.
Hey, Rocky, let me pull something on my sleeve. Presto.
So
You have no idea who Rocky and
I
Bullwinkle
do
are.
know Bull.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, thank
and
God
then
they have sequels or
the
remakes.
Ukrainian or Russian.
the
background,
Russian,
yeah.
Boris Natasha.
Boris
Yes.
and Natasha,
That-
yes.
You know, it's a good thing, Tom,
Blue
that they
Sun
have
Squirrel.
remakes of everything,
I know.
so we can use our old references
There goes that
that we
squirrel.
grew up with. So apparently, Abercrombie and Fitch is not for people like us.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
She
Okay,
says, first of
I'm
all,
being
why don't you
prejudiced
just...
towards age. Yes, it's an age prejudice towards the attire thing. Normally people under 30 wears Abercrombie and Fitch.
Okay, let's not couch this in another way. It's not under 30. It's
there a
under
doorbell?
fetal stage. I mean, it's like. So she says to me, watch the posters when you go in. And sure enough, it was right. I thought I was in kiddie porn.
Really? Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
is naked
It
from the
is.
top, and on the top.
The clothes have placenta on them and everything.
So, she was right. I went in there, and so I went right to the counter.
Yeah.
And I always do this. Don't you find like a counter person, and you go, help me out here?
Right.
Yeah.
And I had that look, and I was
Right.
in a hurry.
Completely distressed.
And so she said, oh, there's stuff. And of course, she used this reference, which I hate. I'm sure you've heard this before, Tom. Oh, yeah, my dad comes here now and then.
I got laughed at by a clerk. I forget what store it was. Every so often they'll ask for your email address, right? And usually I don't give it because I think cash is sufficient. But I gave my email address and it ends with AOL.com.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah,
brother,
yeah,
give it up for
yeah,
the AOL.
yeah.
It's
It's
like Friendster.
It's
Craig
very
is on the
retro
same
chic now.
Club.
I'm
He's
in
the same
AOL.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we have
Is
each
this the
other's email
vintage
address.
club? The
Oh,
vintage
we're the
AOL.
AOL people, and I don't
Yeah.
want to let it go,
No.
to tell you the truth. I like it. I
Let
like
it
the design.
go, let it go.
I can't let it go.
Oh,
It's too
please.
easy. And so you guys can go on with your Gmails. I have a Gmail account.
I do too. I just never use it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not that cool. Okay, you guys think that you're cool, but I have news for you. Sometimes the wise ones know better. Now, I'm going to tell you I'll never go back to this Abercrombie & Fitch again.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you the reason. Okay? I bought so many XLs, I thought it was an algebra equation.
really?
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
It was a freaking algebra
Yeah.
because I said, I'm usually a large, maybe extra large.
Oh,
and
yeah,
she goes,
it's-
well, no, I think you're this. And she starts pointing to X's galore. I couldn't
Yeah.
even believe it.
Yeah.
And then she pulls the largest one. And even that one, I
So
said to
what
her,
size
I went,
is
it's many X's and L's.
many-
And I said to her, it's like centuries. And so I said, do you have anything bigger? I actually had to get bigger. And I have to take this back. Can you do that with Abercrombie & Fitch? Is it like Costco? Well, yeah, I'm looking at
no,
Tom.
you
He doesn't
can't.
know.
Given
I can't
all
take this
the-
back once I sweated through it.
All the great free promotion you've just given them. Not. Yeah, I'm sure.
And I just outed
Yeah,
myself,
yeah.
and I wore it for 2 hours in a snow.
Grandpa alert! Grandpa alert!
Well, can your son wear it?
It's
It's
gonna
gonna
God,
be
that hurt
no.
me worse.
I'm sorry.
So here's what's happening, just to describe.
It's a little
this is,
tight.
I know it's a little tight. Look,
It's a
these
little
buttons
tight.
are. You
Yeah.
can
Buttons are
actually
kinda
see.
You look
Please-
like Bill Bixby on the old Hulk series.
Would you stop? They have new references for the Hulk.
You wouldn't like me when I'm wearing Abercrombie & Fitch.
I'm turning green. All right. So, Tom, you, of
What?
course, are dressed in. What is this,
I
by the
have
way?
no
I'll go
idea.
with
I
that.
would
don't
call
know.
that the IT wear. A lot of IT tech people tend to wear the plaid
Yeah.
shirt.
I left the
hip.
pocket
With the
protector in
pocket
the car.
protectors, and you
Yeah.
have pens too,
I have
and your
glasses. I have
glasses.
glasses.
I
There
love
you
the way
go.
she says it so nicely. She
Yeah.
just called you a
Yeah.
geek in a very nice
Yeah.
manner.
I
thought
did.
that was
Oddly, I
You're-
didn't
you're-
mind.
You fit in right in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that's right.
So Tom obviously is Mr. Hollywood, even though he lives in other states. But the reason I say you're Mr. Hollywood is we were standing outside, and just in those few moments, hey,
yeah.
hey,
Maria
stars
Menounos.
walking by. Of course, Tom
Mario.
just brings them over.
Maria
Lopez-
and Mario, because
Maria-
they do extra here.
Right, they
Yeah.
do extra next door. But and then Cheryl Hines walked by,
Right,
and
De Niro
she was
and-
on my game show. De Niro,
De
I couldn't
Niro
believe-
stopped by. And,
He's there. Are you talking to me?
No, yeah,
he
yeah,
actually
yeah.
said that to
He
Tom
wasn't- he
Bergeron.
wasn't here.
So yeah, Cheryl was out on my game show years ago. So she's going to come on the show. But anyway, Tom was talking to. Felt like I was getting inside poop because she follows Derek, who's one of the great dancers,
Right.
on Dancing with
Right.
the Stars. And what I heard was he's so good. He's won 5 times.
He has.
Wow.
And what were you
Amazing.
saying to Maria?
Well,
that he's
his current partner on the season that's underway now is Amy Purdy. She's a Paralympian, won the bronze in Sochi at the Paralympics just before we debuted on the 17th of March. She lost both lower legs to meningitis when she was 19 and
Ooh.
kidney function. Her dad had to give her one of his kidneys. So, but she's obviously now she's a successful athlete and a true inspiration. And Derek has been choreographing these amazing routines.
That's incredible.
I liken him to sort of a modern day Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire. But I was saying to Maria that last season Derek won with Amber Riley from Glee, who is a plus-size woman, and both her knees are bad. And this season,
I didn't realize that too.
This season, he has a really good shot at I think winning with Amy, and so.
And you had a reason for that. Is because
because he choreographs to the strengths and away from the weaknesses of his partners, and sometimes, whether consciously or unconsciously, some of the pros choreograph to their strengths, and so their partners suffer a little bit. Derek, to my knowledge, has never done that. I
Isn't
mean,
there someone that would coach them for to change that? Do they have coaches
They
themselves?
can.
I mean, they would pull them aside and go, you know, one of Derek's secrets is, and the
Yeah.
reason you keep coming in 4th, 5th, and 6th place every year is you're not adapting to your dancer.
That might be. Certainly, they're allowed to bring in outside help for choreography if they feel the
Really?
need for it. Yeah,
Huh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's somebody that would coach. I always wonder that about professional athletes. When we can see it as just the viewer, you know what's up. It's their
Right.
ego.
Right,
and
yeah.
You wonder if somebody's literally pulling them aside and go, you know, you don't listen to many people, you're going to listen to me. You need to change this up a little
Right,
bit.
right.
But they don't have that, and your producers don't do that either.
I don't.
They wouldn't coach them in
think
that
so.
way.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think
Right.
they have the
think so.
knowledge or experience
Yeah,
to even
yeah.
identify
Well, just
that.
what Tom said
Yeah.
from a, I would say, neophyte perspective. I mean,
Right.
because you're not
No,
a dancer.
Not at all. No.
Have you ever been asked to dance on
I
the show?
danced once in season 2 on a result show. I did a quick step, which
Notice it was
sadly
season
is still
2.
available on YouTube. But the reason
Those are
I
the
did it
greatest.
was to know what they went through, because you can host a show and have an intellectual
Yeah,
sense
sure.
of it, but to really feel it in every nerve fiber, that's what I was going for. So I went through a 3-week training, rehearsing, and then did it live on the show. They gave me the option to not do it live. I said, well, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Is to do it.
And were
do it
you
live.
nervous?
Yeah, I was.
Like
yeah.
like you as you hadn't been in,
Yes,
in
exactly,
the past.
exactly.
It was a whole other level.
Yeah,
and it's just not your arena.
Exactly. Usually, I'm. It's like a kid in a candy store for me to be on live TV. I love it. It's my favorite part of the day.
Right.
But that night, knowing I had to do that dance, I was definitely nervous.
Do your producers ever pull you aside and say, "Please stop talking to us and save it for the air"? Do they have that issue with
No,
you as
because
well?
in the
Kinda like
dress,
how we had it today.
right. But in the dress rehearsal, which we do like
Oh.
from 1:30 to 3:30, then we go live to the East Coast at 5.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm doing all of the blue stuff that comes to mind that I know I can't do on network. So
Wow, we
it's-
used to do that when we
Yeah.
write for television.
Yeah.
You throw it all
You
out
get
because
it.
then you give them something to do.
Right.
Then you can slip in the semi-blue stuff.
Yeah,
Is that how you do it as well that way?
Sometimes, I mean, but everything changes when you're on live. You're responding to what's happening then. So
Right.
something that you might have thought worked in the rehearsal, now everything is a little bit different. It
Right.
doesn't fit. So that's part of the pleasure of it is being in the moment, being conscious, as we were saying before,
Being
and
present.
reacting in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a part of you that wants to react, but you're so trained to not react as you normally would on this show or even on the street.
Right,
Or,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
you're kind of like the cleaner Saget, because when he gets out,
Everybody's like the cleaner Saget. I mean, my God. Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Rodney
Yeah.
Dangerfield was a clean Saget.
Yeah.
But
A Tourette's convention is like a cleaner Saget.
True.
you should do stand-up. He came up with better ad lib than I did.
That's
I had a Rodney
okay.
Dangerfield reference. You have a Tourette reference. That's so much funnier and well thought out. But you did have a chance while I was blowing my chance. So
There
to
you
come
go.
up with the
I
better.
know, that's right.
Yeah, but Bob Saget hosted America's Home Video.
Yeah,
For
that's
your
what I
funniest
remember.
home
America's
videos.
Funniest
Again,
Home Video.
What do I keep
Just
saying?
America's home videos.
Video. You were talking about like surveillance cameras.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. ADT security show.
Listen,
Yeah.
folks, this shirt is tight.
Yeah,
I can't even think right
I'm
now.
sure they noticed that too.
It's like sausage cases. If they call it a slim fit on an XXLL,
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
out of your minds? That's not. That's ridiculous. Are they trying to make me slimmer? I'm tired of talking about it, but it really is hurting me.
I
we
know.
take it
I can
back?
see it. Your face is getting red. It's like
yeah.
it's too tight.
Well, that's from being upset that Tom won't stop talking before we got on the air. That got me up.
Now, wait a minute. There's an old reference.
There's an old reference.
Yeah.
That was Jack Benny,
Benny.
who was a classic.
Old Don.
Now,
know
do
that.
you? That's funny you should say that. I was talking to a really big actor, and one of his. I was shocked by this advice. He said he emulates old actors, and he doesn't. He basically, and when he auditions, he thinks of an actor that he's
Really?
going to
Oh, that's interesting.
be.
Yeah.
in his performance. So each performance is not necessarily original. He's channeling a William Powell or like an old school George
this?
Raft. I'm not going to say who it is because he gave me this little trick.
Interesting.
And do you find
Needless
yourself
to say,
being...
he does not shop at Abercrombie and Fitch. Yeah.
Can we ding every time we have an Abercrombie and Fitch
Right.
reference? These
Thank
people
you.
owe us money at this
They do.
point.
They
Okay.
should.
Respect
yeah.
is what they really owe us.
Hey, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So do you find yourself, because I think you are a little Benny-esque in your
Benny,
delivery.
the people that I admired were the reactors like that, like Benny, Carson,
Wow.
Oliver Hardy even. I mean, the slow burn. You can do so much more with a look sometimes than with words. And I think Carson admitted to the influence of Benny. As a matter of fact,
Yes, he did. Yeah.
filled in for him once when Benny was sick or something like that on the old Jack Benny show.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He also was a bit of Jonathan Winters,
Yeah.
too. And then Robin Williams was also Jonathan Winters.
Rich
There were
Little,
influences.
when he did Hollywood Squares, because that's where Craig and I first met when I was hosting that in syndication. But Rich Little told me, because we were talking about Benny too, because that stage is where Benny did his show.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Over at CBS?
At CBS, Television City. There's this crate where a bunch of cables were piled.
I love that.
And on the side
Yeah.
was the logo of the Jack Benny
my
show.
God.
And I brought John Ritter over to see
Oh,
it.
John Ritter.
Yeah, and then John and I were standing there like we had just gone to Comedy Mecca,
Right.
looking at Jack Benny's thing. But
Did you kiss the cables or anything?
no,
like that?
because you don't know where they've been. But Rich Little said that Benny took, because Rich Little would do Benny and he would do, now wait a minute, like that. And Benny said, splay the fingers, Rich, it's funnier. So then you go like that, it's fussier than if you go like this, little things.
And so he was coached.
Yeah, by Jack Benny
doing
himself.
Benny.
Yeah.
Splay the
Dick Van Dyke told me that Stan Laurel, after Dick had done a Laurel and Hardy bit on the old Dick Van Dyke show, Stan Laurel spent about 45 minutes critiquing it to him on the phone.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never had that happen before. I've met Don Knotts.
Yeah.
I met him
Barney
too.
Fife. Do you met Don Knotts?
I met Don Knotts. There was a time I interned at MTV, and I got to work on the, what was that network with all the old TV shows that they have?
TV Land?
TV
Land.
Land.
Yeah.
I did the TV Land Awards.
Yeah.
And I was walking Don Knotts, and he was
You
such
walked
a
him?
I walked him.
Nicest
yeah,
guy in the world,
nicest
isn't he?
guy.
Yeah, he was.
A lot nicer than Sybil Shepherd.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
No,
say,
she
yeah,
had a bit
she's
of
not
a-
She was my
pleasant.
across the street neighbor at one
Is
time.
she?
Yes, not very nice. We
sorry.
had good car.
There you go. TV Land, by the way, where you'll never see an Abercrombie and Fitch commercial.
Would you please?
Exactly.
You know the old when you get together with the old stars, do
Yeah.
they ever talk about beating a joke to death?
Yeah. I
You
think
beat
we're
it
there.
to death.
I think we're there.
Carson, though, was an influence for you as well.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, because
As a broadcaster, which is how I define myself really more than anything else.
he began
he
in
was-
that old
yeah.
school host game shows,
Right,
host
exactly.
whatever it is, and that's the direction you took. Game shows,
Right. I
clip
was started
shows.
in local TV in Boston.
Yeah.
Well, New Hampshire before that, and then the first national thing I did was when FX launched in '94.
I remember you hosted a morning
A morning show
like
set in a loft apartment in the Flatiron District.
was like a
called
Fox and Friends.
Breakfast Time. No,
Right,
it
so
wasn't
It was
like
a
Fox and
Good
Friends.
Morning America. It was like
A
Good
cabal
Morning
of conservatives.
America something.
But
I remember.
Yeah, you hosted but it was with a
It
couple
was,
of people.
Yeah,
from what I remember.
Lori Hibbert, now married to Michael Gelman of what's the show
Regis and
now?
Kelly
It's
or-
not who is
right.
it? It's Kelly and
Michael
Michael,
and
or
Kelly, yeah.
Harry and Louise.
Okay.
And Bob and Carol, Ted and Alice. But so she and I were the co-hosts, and we had a Phil Kogan of The Amazing Race was one of our road warriors. Another show on FX was hosted by Jeff Probst.
Oh,
who
yeah.
You got to know on the island.
I did. I got to know him very well.
Very well.
No, sort of. There was moments I did not like him.
Oh.
Douche.
Right. Did you
Well,
want-
he's very good at noticing. Like, he's good at figuring out people's body language and if there's discomfort.
Sure.
And, like, producers
Yep.
kind of tell him, like,
Yep.
hey, there's something going on.
Yeah.
And he would always try to make me talk. And every time I talk, I made all these sub-alliance with other people. I was afraid I was going to get called out.
Okay.
So I got upset with Jeff because I was afraid of being the next one to go. And I didn't want to leave.
I see.
But he's a great host.
No, he's wonderful.
He's
He's a
wonderful.
very good
What was it, $1 million? I wouldn't want to leave
$1 million.
either.
I wouldn't want to leave
Yeah.
either. I was just
No.
like, you're messing up my game, Jeff.
Yeah.
So he would come in there and sort of he was
challenging me.
He was put up to it by the producers, though.
Well, he's
They
also
noticed
he's
the
got a
vulnerability.
he's
and
got a
that's his
he's got a
job
good
is
eye
to
too,
challenge
though.
you,
Right.
and it was hard for me because I felt like everyone was challenging me at that same time.
So you have a persecution complex.
Tom, she's only here a month. I love that this will be the person that goes because of the guest that I had on, as opposed to
I'm
just
not
me.
coming back. Bergeron pissed me off.
He knows Tom Bergeron for all those years. As Survivor, I was up for, and I was up for Hollywood Squares. Let's just bring in every single person.
Really?
Jim Carrey will be here next week. And,
Oh, wow.
Because I was almost in Living Color. The almost career. That's what I'm in, the almost career. So next, who's going to take your place on America's Funniest Home Video? Maybe
Almost
that's
you.
why I'll never get it, because I can't get the title of the show.
Yeah.
I loved Hollywood Squares, though.
That was fun.
But now, when you were a kid, did you watch Hollywood
I
Squares?
did, with Peter Marshall and Wally Cox and Rosemary Paul Lynn.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, that was
my
look, as much fun as we had in our version with Whoopi and everything. That was the classic version.
The classic,
no denying
yeah.
it. I mean, that was the one that.
Tell us what it's like, though, when you sit in the seat. Now, I know what it was like for me, because that was my dream to be on Hollywood Squares. The only problem, I'm not a big celebrity,
here
so I was always Craig Shoemaker to block. I mean, one time I'm looking in the monitor, I'm the only way to go.
Right.
I'll take Antonio Banderas to lose. I mean, it was like that. Right. They didn't want to pronounce Shoemaker. I don't know what it was, but whatever the case was, I was never chosen. But I was all the squares but the center. I had chills when I took those squares for the first time, because when I wrote letters to Paul Lynn to fix them up with my mother, I actually said to him in the letter, how do you get in those squares? Does Tony Fields really have a wooden leg? I mean, I want to know that stuff.
Right.
So when you're sitting there as the host.
Does my mom have a chance with you? Oh, really? No, I guess not. Does my dad have a chance with you?
Do I have a chance with you? Anybody but my mom. But I did want to fix them up, because Paul Lynn and that show made my mom laugh, and that made me so happy. So when you're sitting there, you get the gig, and you take your first day. Obviously, you did some rehearsal shows, but your first day shooting, does it ever overwhelm you?
Well, it's interesting, because on the first day, and as you may not know, but we shoot 5 in a day.
Yeah.
We shoot 3 of the shows, and the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday show, then we break for lunch, and then we come back and do the Thursday, Friday show. And that first day, now I come from a hosting of talk shows background. So I was doing a talk show, essentially. I was interacting with all of you guys a little too much, and the contestants are going, "Please shut the fuck up."
Because the more you talk,
the less they can win.
Right.
So Michael King, remember Roger and Michael King?
They're kind of like I was with you.
Right. Michael King came over to me and he said, "Tom, this is great. You're doing good, but you got to stop interviewing everybody in the squares, because it's not that." Once I learned that the pacing of a game show,
right,
then it was much easier. And even on days, because we all have them when you're not feeling like you're in the zone.
Yeah.
I would just be a fan then. I would just let you guys kind of prime my pump and react to. And by show 2, or sometimes in the middle of first one, I was right back into it again.
Because we did the 5 in the day, but they had a lot of comedians on this version.
Right.
Where they more characters on the other one.
Exactly.
But how was it to know that you were stepping into a Peter Marshall? We won't go with the John Davidson years, but I mean, the
lost years.
The lost years of Hollywood Squares.
Yeah.
That was the Waylon and Madam. That was they always had the gay square.
Right.
So how did it feel, though? I mean, be honest with us.
Let me just ask: did you turn off the air conditioning?
Yeah.
I'm
Because
wondering
all of a
too.
sudden this is like a police interrogation with the lighting and
with Shoemaker
dead
asking
air.
the questions.
Yeah,
here.
the dead air.
I want to get back to you. Didn't answer the question to begin
Sorry,
with.
sorry.
How did it feel when you took the seat? How did it feel knowing that you watched this show when you were a kid? I mean, you
it
were
was
sitting
great.
in that seat.
And I
mean,
didn't feel.
Do you have that moment though, where you go, "Wow"?
Yeah, yes, but it didn't feel intimidating, because I knew that we'd never be that show. We were going to be our take on it. One of the greatest days of the 6 years I spent doing it, I think in the last year of the show, Peter Marshall was the center square.
Oh,
and I wanted to do something which he agreed to do on one of those 5 shows. I took the center square and he hosted it. And Henry Winkler at that point was one of the executive producers.
That's right, yeah.
And he very smartly said, "We've got to see that moment where you guys to sort of high-five each other, shake hands or whatever, but he goes back up to the podium.
That's
Yeah.
very cool.
And it was really neat. It was really neat
That's a
to
cool
watch
moment.
Peter kind of take the show
He
over
was,
again.
he was also very good.
Yeah,
at
oh,
what he did.
absolutely.
I mean, he
Yeah,
really knew how
absolutely.
to also be a fan, is what
Right,
you were saying,
right.
is let the people do their thing. I was
Yeah.
just on the Bob and Tom show, and they have a radio show in
Right.
150 markets, and one of their successes is they bring in comedians. Go do your thing.
Yeah.
And guess who gets the credit and the ratings for it? Not the comedians.
Exactly. Again, that
You.
was another, to
Yeah.
talk about Carson again, another hallmark of Carson, who was
yeah.
not only not afraid to let somebody else get the laugh, but if they were struggling a bit, he would be in there pitching for you, helping you out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's not something you can study. It's an instinct thing.
No, and it's also, I think, an innate generosity of spirit and an understanding that you're there every day, or it's the guests will come and go, and like you say, you ultimately get the benefit. For
Yeah, and you got the gig.
You got
know
the
what I mean?
gig, exactly
Once
right.
you have the gig,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And if you're not having people like from the upstairs calling you upstairs, which they have not with Dancing with the Stars,
No.
they're basically letting you do your thing.
Pretty
They're
much.
comfortable with
Yep.
you. The ratings
Yep.
are good,
Yep.
so they're not trying to mess with success. I mean, although I did hear that this year you have some differences.
We did. They
made some changes.
They changed my co-host from Brooke Burke to
I heard that.
to Aaron Andrews.
And is there a reason for that?
They'd have to answer that.
Right.
They'd have to answer that.
I got it. Good
but,
job,
yeah,
Tom.
thank you. And they
Tom's
changed.
retiring from America's Home Funniest Videos,
Funniest.
whatever it's called,
Funniest.
and to be in politics. So
Yeah. Here's
people
a show.
People,
Here's a
by the
show.
way, I slipped that in so
Here's a
subtly.
show.
People told me to ask
Think of
that
AFE.
question.
AFE. 3 letters. There's no way you can screw
America's
that up.
Funniest Video.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always think like that's what started Jackass. I'm talking about
Well, I
another
think
show.
so.
Because,
I
like,
think there's a lot of those niche shows. Tosh.0 is like that.
And
you
people
know.
are purposely doing crazy, stupid things. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna be on TV.
Yeah.
I never do.
And
Or-
then, yeah,
or,
Tosh.0
39 Days on an
and
Island,
Jackass.
for example.
Yeah.
or
you
where-
know, there was money in the line. For other people, there wasn't that much. Tosh.0 is free. You
or
don't get
wearing
anything.
a tight shirt intended for a
Yeah.
teenager.
There you go.
When you're over 50.
There you go. That's right.
I didn't do it on purpose.
I understand.
So when you retire from that show, is there an intent to get another show, or
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I no.
Is there a
real,
second act to Tom Bergeron?
Look, I think hopefully. I just don't know. I don't have anything clearly in mind. I just thought that it was a really good time to wrap that
I mean,
up.
I guess what I'm saying is, are you compelled to produce, for instance, be behind this? Really?
No, much to my agent's chagrin. You're going to see her later today.
Yes, I'm
and-
having
and-
dinner with your agent.
And talk to her about how many times she's tried to get me to start a production company. And all
Yeah,
that.
well, we talked
Yeah,
about that.
yeah,
Do you
that's
remember
right.
that a long
Yeah,
time
yeah.
ago? I wanted a show called World's Worst Audition Tapes.
Oh,
Yeah.
And Tom and I met
mine's
over.
probably one of them. Just kidding.
Well, it worked though. You got on.
It seemed to have worked.
Yeah.
Well, I actually assembled a number of tapes of people that are just so desperate for fame, and they're awful. And we thought, hey, how about a clip show? So I went to Tom. He's like, no, I'm not really a producer.
No, but I'm not.
That amazes me. I would think that would be the next version of you. You just have an instinct to be in front of the camera.
Right, and
You
I don't want to. I mean, I'm certainly. Am I boring you? That was a yawn. Don't you?
No, I'm not
No, it
yawning
was a
at
yawn.
the boredom.
You saw it,
I
right?
just
That was it. You
sat
tried to make it look
all
like you were
the
just breathing
being
a
cold.
lot.
Hold on one second.
That
I'm
was
gonna
a
help her
yawn.
out. I'm going to help her
All
out.
right,
Okay.
okay.
Scientifically proven it's lack of oxygen. Tell them why.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I need some AC. That's
Well,
what
they
it is, the
finally
lack
turned
of
it back
oxygen.
on. It
Yeah.
was it was off. You could
was,
just feel
yeah.
it got very warm.
Yes,
in here.
and that's a lack of oxygen.
Yes,
I want to keep her
okay,
here, Tom.
all right,
Please
okay,
don't call her
fine.
out on a yawn. Okay, it's been a month, for God's sake. Just towel off and
They
deal
they
with
Need the
provide these
AC
for the
going
guests
on
when
here.
the AC.
Oh, we're
Because
burning our
yeah,
guests.
that's
Toweling
it.
up.
We're sweating it.
Horrible.
Wow.
We started late.
Yeah.
We had him in the
Yeah.
parking lot instead of a
Unbelievable.
dressing
It was
room.
hot in the parking lot,
We have a
too.
yawning
No.
co-host. Good
I'm not
God, he'll never
yawning.
come back.
No.
He's thinking, what am I doing here?
Really, at least the coffee was free.
I did spring for coffee.
Yeah,
didn't
you
I?
did. You did.
I've never had a cup of coffee. You seem to be addicted to it.
It's really. I mean, this is crazy.
It got better.
It
got
got
better.
just for a second.
As
It's
soon
already
as I
off again.
yawned, the air came
It's
on.
already it's already off. Can you
Stefan,
go-
you're in a t-shirt and
Stefan,
shorts. Help
can
us out
you
here.
Go
I
turn
know.
it back.
Help the
Oh,
fully
turn it
dressed
back
people.
on.
The polyester is not working.
It is
either.
on? Okay.
It really?
It's all the yammering in
It's
here.
all the yammering. God Almighty.
And how are your kids doing? You have kids. Are they okay with your fame when you getting stopped in the streets?
I don't. I mean, it's people are nice to the extent that it happens, and they're good with it. When they were little, I was in Boston doing TV and radio, so it would happen there. So it's sort of normal to them to an extent.
It becomes like that. My son's actually, and I'm not that famous, but he's kind of confronted me on it.
Really?
What does he say?
Well, he's a little uncomfortable.
Oh, he's a little uncomfortable.
Here's the thing.
Well, because when a kid knows, now I was just going to ask you this question because it really does relate to a
This is your
conversation I had
eldest?
with my son. Yeah, my oldest. The other ones don't really know any better.
Okay.
And he he had a talk with me. Yes, he had the talk with me.
Really?
I want to sit down with you, Dad, and we need to have that heart to heart. And he mentioned to me, and I was wondering if your kids have ever said this to you, that he feels that some people get to know him because of what I do and because of who I am. And, not that I'm any degree close to you, so I would imagine that your children must have some perspective on that. They have your last name, right?
Right.
So people are going to approach them.
Well, we've hyphenated too, because my wife kept her name when we got married, and so we've saddled the kids with a hyphenated
Oh
last
God,
name.
that's such a saddle. What if they
Yeah.
marry someone with a hyphen? Is it 4 hyphens?
It's up to them. They can
Do you,
Choose the two
Maria
buttons.
Bergeron,
Right.
Shoemaker, Ahmadiyya,
yeah.
take?
They can do it as
What if it's like 2 hyphenated people getting married? That must be a nightmare for the minister,
poor
the
minister.
officiant, trying to get all these names right. What do they do in a hyphen situation? Are
don't
either one of them
know.
married?
No.
Wow, wait to see.
But they, whenever it was annoying to them, the whole, being recognized thing, I would remind them that these people are why you don't have college loans.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
They should be
I'd go
very
with
thankful.
something else.
Yeah.
College loans, they don't care anyway. They
Oh,
don't give
yeah.
a shit about your
Well,
college. They don't care. That's a piece of paper to them that you're taking care of.
Yeah,
and you'll end up paying their loan.
Yeah, but not every parent takes care of it, or
mine never.
can. And,
Mine did
and,
not.
Yeah,
I would
so-
go more direct, like car, the clothes that you have on. Enjoy burlap if it's not for
yeah,
this
yeah.
for this
Burlaps.
career. But yeah, burlap is not a good thing to wear.
Yeah.
I've worn it.
Yeah.
So, by the
Like
way,
just like
I'd
your
rather have
shirt.
that on than this.
Yeah.
I'd rather have burlap on. So they've never been had some discomfort over
Yeah, they've had
daddy being
they have.
who
They
you
have.
are.
But
Do they have any discomfort with somebody approaching them basically because of who they are related to you?
I mean, I'm sure if it's happened, I know with our youngest daughter, she was invited to some sororities for that reason that
Yeah.
she just passed on.
She did. She smelled it.
Yeah.
My son smells
Yeah,
it too.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they
So
get the agenda.
Right.
Right.
But in the annals of problems to have, these aren't big ones.
No,
They're
of
not
course not.
world's first problems.
yeah.
It's not
at
a
all.
rating system of problems.
Right.
Otherwise, we'd be over in Afghanistan
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, my yurt was bombed
You'd
yesterday.
be at Abercrombie and Burka.
Can that be the last reference?
Okay, fine.
We have 6 minutes left.
All right. Then,
We should actually frame the shirt.
I have
and,
news
like,
for
keep
you.
it. No,
Our
you're not
next
gonna
guest who comes in, Mike Farah. First of all, don't mention the shirt. And
I
second of all,
won't.
I might
Okay.
even send it back between takes.
Okay.
Between our
I
on
don't
our
know
break.
what other stores can you go to
There
get
are
another
other
shirt?
stores that aren't like
he
this.
can get. We're at Universal. He can get a Harry Potter T-shirt.
You can get a Harry Potter T-shirt. You can.
Yeah. I can see Dumbledore instead of the moose on your chest right now.
True.
I'll take a SpongeBob if
Yeah,
it fits.
there you go.
I just want something that fits
That's
at
right.
this
That's right.
point. Now your wife, you've been married 30 years?
It's coming up on 32.
Oh my
Wow.
God! How did you meet?
She was a producer-director for New Hampshire Public Television. I was doing my radio show from the set of their annual fundraising auction. And I saw this really hot redhead running around swearing like a truck driver, barking out orders. I said, I want to meet her. So that's how we met when I was doing that. Yeah.
Still red and still barking orders.
Yeah,
That's what I
at
wanna
me
know.
now. But, yeah.
You asked for it. That was a
That's
law
right.
of attraction.
Yeah.
Working for you.
Exactly.
So it's been 32 years, and you live.
Both coasts.
on
We
both
do-
coasts.
Usually we're back east when the show's
I have a
wrapped.
feeling you two prefer it back east.
We've
Is it
come
more
to-
homey?
Well, that's the East Coast is where I grew up, so I always feel more affinity for that. And but I've come to really appreciate, apart from the occasional earthquake, California.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
too.
and
I've
the
always said
winters,
that I'd
too.
rather be here and just hang out with some East Coast people.
Yeah,
not have
yeah.
to
I
shovel
like a
driveway.
couple of snowstorms, and I love fall back east.
Oh yeah,
But
it's beautiful.
yeah.
As long as the kid knocks on your door and says, "I'll shovel your pavement for $5," because I don't feel like doing it anymore.
Yeah, no.
Remember
Yeah,
those
we
days?
have-
I'll bet the jobs that Tom Bergeron had before you became.
I was a customer service rep for a company that made flexible tubing
Oh,
for 3 months. That's right.
And,
That's right, easily amazed people.
and you would go knock door to door and say, "You think your
No,
tubing's
no, it
flexible
was.
now?
I was.
Have I got something for
I
you?"
was at a desk, and people
People would
that
call
needed
in?
flexible tubing, and you'd be surprised
Oh.
how many do. They would for personal or industrial use.
You need your tubes
That's
tied.
right,
Did you
yeah.
have a whole shtick that you said to them?
No,
on the
they
phone?
would call for whatever business they were from, an application they needed, and I gave great phone.
Yeah.
I was good on. I
can
wasn't
imagine.
great with follow through though. Orders would end up in drawers. I'd forget where they were. They'd call back. I was only there 3 months.
Does anybody ever come up to you and go, "You sold me flexible tubing"?
No,
You
no.
were my customer service rep.
No.
I recognize your voice. I would
No.
know it anywhere.
No, and that company no longer exists, and I kind of blame myself.
Do you have the old friends that you had when you were growing up? Is that part of the reason you go home? That would be my reason.
Some of them. There was a reunion at my high school, I think last year, was it? Last year that I did not go to because I haven't really kept in touch with anybody.
Well, that's the reason.
From then.
That's the reason you go, Tom.
No, but my feeling is
you
no.
go to-
Why do you
I
go
didn't go
back?
to my high school
I know
reunion.
because the reason you don't go is because you didn't care enough to keep those
I
relationships
agree. I agree.
going. So why do I want to go back and go? Oh, don't really recognize you. Don't recognize you.
Right.
And,
We have a different. You two have a very much of a difference of opinion
Yeah.
with me
you
on
must
this
have been
one.
popular as a kid.
I was not. That's why you go back.
Yeah, I
Don't
stopped.
you go back with resentments and
No,
say,
not
"See,
resentments.
Look who I became."
See, I stopped going after the one time I went and I saw the dad of one of my schoolmates at the bar.
Oh.
When I walked in, I thought that is weird. What that's weirder than shopping. And then I went up to the bar and it wasn't his dad. It was him.
Yeah.
Oh.
Had it happen to me 2
Yeah.
weeks ago. I had
That's right.
I went to our local pizza parlor, and this guy walks in. I went, "Wow, he looks like I don't want to say his name
Yeah,
because
I
he
know.
might be watching."
Exactly.
And I actually thought it was not only the dad; I thought it was the granddad.
Oh,
and this guy
geez.
was 2 years younger than me.
Oh man.
And I turned to my
It
son
just gets-
Justin. I said, "Justin,
It
don't."
gets sad.
It
after
does-
all.
it-
I did have.
it
I had
does.
a nice coffee when I was back east with the woman who was my high school sweetheart, and we've kept in touch.
Yeah.
And she's lovely, and always happy to see her, though it's not very often. But for the rest of it, I just never kept in touch.
See, I want to keep in touch because I wished that they were my high school sweetheart. I had
Oh.
none, and it's kind of like,
Yeah.
look what you missed.
Yeah.
You-
There's
you mi-
one.
Check out this.
I'm thinking of
You can
one-
say it, Tom. Check out this body.
No, the dead horses are dropping all around you now. Yeah. Sorry, Wilbur.
I like this. As a matter of fact, I haven't introduced our audience of one,
Oh.
but two.
We have
Yeah.
two.
My
You've
best.
held up pretty well, by the way.
Yeah.
next week.
Okay.
Mia, are you enjoying this? Mia did not want to come in here. It was very difficult to
She was
get
debating.
what are you, 13, 14? How old?
14.
Wow.
14. So we have a 14-year-old. It's our first 14-year-old audience of two with her dad, Tony, who happens to be my best friend growing up. That's his first cousin. So he wouldn't even be here if I didn't go to the reunion.
Oh, there you go.
See how it's all attached?
Well, now that I see the obvious fringe benefits.
You could have more audience
That's
members
right.
of Dancing with the Stars if you just kept in touch with some
I
people.
know.
Shallow.
I keep in touch with more people from my professional life, like early radio and TV and all that.
Right. You have the same agent for 20 years.
Yes, yeah,
right?
more than that.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
more than
loyalty.
that. Yeah,
Same accountant,
Yeah,
same-
yeah, pretty much.
My
yeah.
accountant I was in kindergarten with.
Really?
Yeah,
And
seriously, we
was,
shared cots
Was that
together.
skill with numbers evident then?
No, it wasn't actually. We used to call him PDF. That stood for Poor Dumb Frank.
Oh my
I can't believe
God.
Poor Dumb Frank does my taxes, and he's a genius. at
Really?
it.
Yeah.
I don't know how PDF ever became this great accountant, but he is. He's wonderful.
And he says, Craig, audits are a normal part of doing business.
Have you ever been audited?
No, I never have.
Oh, I
not
haven't
from
either.
really.
It's
Yeah,
frightening.
No, I bet.
Yeah, it's enough that people are, following me on Twitter. I can't imagine someone following me on every single thing that I've ever spent.
The NSA knows all that stuff anyway.
What's that?
NSA, they know it already.
do-
They know it already.
They do know it all. And now, do you have a? I mean, you being on national television every day, how does that affect your life as far as going out? I mean, like you said, you're going to the movies tonight.
Yeah.
Do you
Not a
make
lot.
some decisions on, I don't want to be around a lot of people right now?
Not really. Like, for example, where we live, there's a shopping area that is frequented by Kardashians.
Yes.
that neighborhood.
Where we met the
Yeah.
other day.
Yes,
Yeah.
your neighborhood.
We
So,
had, yeah, we
so
had
every
dinner
so
there.
often there'll
Yeah.
be a TMZ guy who clearly didn't get a Kardashian, and you go, all right, I'll go with Berger on that. You know, and I try to treat it like performance art and just have a running monologue and, you know, get in the car and
You're just
Right.
having fun with it.
yeah, exactly.
I
have
actually,
to.
it's funny you said, Tom, I have a different perspective on people that can't deal with paparazzi.
Yeah.
I think that there are stars like you know, who's like that is Nicholson. It's like you sort of embrace it and just
Yeah.
have fun with it,
Yeah.
and then they won't come after you.
Right.
It's kind of like the date. It's like if you play it like that,
Yeah.
they'll just go, he's not interesting.
Yeah.
If he's
Right.
that easy.
Right, exactly
He
right.
can't be that good in
He's
bed.
already on his back. Look,
He's just going to lie there anyway.
one question, the legs are spread. Come on, make it tougher.
But with them, with the avoiding and then, and,
Oh
you know.
yeah,
but-
well, and funnily enough, I think some of them call, you know, they call these people to say, you know, or she's going to be over at such and such, and then act like that.
Oh, you think
They
that
do.
also
Oh,
happens.
absolutely.
So
Oh,
they're
yeah.
setting
Yeah.
up their own conflict.
Yeah.
I can
Ooh,
contest
geez.
to that. I have friends who are
Really?
publicists who have admitted
The
that
publicists
whole
will call,
the call and
Harvey's
they'll say that they're
people
over
and
there.
yeah.
Well, okay, I get the
Like,
part
oh,
of.
they're at the Grove.
I get that part. Okay,
Yeah.
Christine, I get that. But are they concocting this story along with go to the Grove and start an argument?
Well,
I mean, there's not that. Here we have a little
sometimes,
conflict going on.
or
Here.
they'll just
We're going to make sure
pretend-
that you run into someone you have a Twitter war with.
right. Twitter war. That's
Well,
ridiculous.
I think too, and I think
Twitter
that some of these guys with the cameras will see if they can provoke you, and you're
They
right.
do.
If you let everything roll off your back, which you should, because seriously,
Right.
you know, then they
Then they're not
look for
interested
somebody
in
else.
you. Yeah. But I've noticed this about.
But I'm outside the demo anyway.
There's,
you know.
and that's the other
Gray
thing.
hair over here.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was hanging out with at the airport with REO Speedwagon. You know,
Yeah.
Kevin Crony's also in our neighborhood. And we were at the airport together, and TMZ. They did the same thing as you
Yeah.
were basically saying. They go, "Look, we were here on an assignment for someone else. Weren't you in some band?" And then they started interviewing him. And he, of course, is happy because people are paying attention to him because he wants to stay current. That's
Right.
that's the irony. Is he also wants to have new fans and
One guy from TMZ a few years ago did something similar. He comes up to me as I'm leaving Starbucks and goes, "You're famous, right? Who are you again?"
Oh my goodness.
And I said, Wayne Brady. and he goes, "I don't think you're Wayne Brady. If you're Wayne Brady, do an impression." I said, "I'm impersonating a white guy. That's not enough."
this
Come
is
on.
genius
Yeah,
here, buddy.
good
Right.
Check out my techie shirt.
yeah, right.
Here in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Wayne Brady.
Wayne
Well, the
Brady.
guy even knew that he did impressions, though, so that's,
Yeah,
that's
so he
impressive
was-
because Wayne's over 45, too. I think that I don't know what it is that people, it's amazing to me how talent used to be king. Remember when we were growing up, is talent.
Well, I don't know. That may have been
don't
our
think so?
perception because
Okay,
we were
so what
younger.
is your
but
perception on
I
that?
think it's always. I think the entertainment business. I mean, if you look back to the days of the film studios having all the control over, age was always a factor.
Okay,
going
age was
forward.
a factor.
Yeah.
How about talent, though?
Talent?
Although some of these people, they remain stars all
I
the way to
remember
their
as
death.
a kid, because I used
Lucille
to love.
Ball was a little sad. In the
towards
end.
the end,
In the end, when
yeah,
she was doing
that's
slapstick
sad.
at 80.
Yeah, Life with Lucy was the last attempt with Gail Gordon, and it was
Yeah.
like, don't break this hip. And no, it was. But I remember as a kid, I used to love all the variety shows like Gleason and Skelton
Yeah.
and all that. And one season, CBS canceled everything. They canceled all those things. And I thought, how do you, as a kid, you think these are big stars. How do you just tell them they don't have to come to work tomorrow? And the shows are gone. And it was the very same thing that we deal with today, which is demos and advertisers.
Well, that's
and-
true, but
yeah.
I'm asking you the question of, do you think it is a perception that I have, or maybe you have, that it was talent-based then? I mean,
No,
remember
I
the
don't think
song
it
and
was.
Dance Man, for
Yeah.
instance, used like when I was in college, I studied, singing, dancing.
Yeah.
You had to be sort of all of those things. I'm sure you did as
two
well.
people who passed away recently, Shirley Temple and Mickey Rooney, were as talented going through their teens and 20s as they were when they were younger, but people weren't going to their movies anymore.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But were they going to see were the popular people, even if they were younger, were they not talented as they are today? Like nothing against reality stars.
Who has the most, followers,
That's what I'm saying.
Let's look
and
at
what's it based
Kim
on, though? It's
Kardashian.
not based
Absolutely
on talent
no
anymore.
Talent.
Well, she has her
Zero.
own category on Netflix, for God's sakes. I mean,
She does.
you know what I'm saying. But
Is it X-rated?
right. I mean, she basically made it from a talent of finding another athlete to be videoed.
Yeah, but I think, look,
I'm trying to be clean with the 14-year-old.
there are so
in there.
many different places to watch stuff.
Right.
From when I grew up, it was 3 channels and an
ABC,
antenna.
NBC.
Right, and a few snowy VHF stations.
UHF.
UHF stations,
Oof.
rather.
Yeah.
As the kids
That's
today
right,
say,
yeah.
what's
The
oof?
oof, the oof.
What's oof?
So I don't know. I just think there's so much more available, and the audiences really are smaller for something that's a hit.
It's niche
today
now.
has a much smaller audience than something was a hit when there weren't as many choices.
Everyone got
Yeah.
around the television,
Right.
and you had to watch together.
Right.
I don't know if anyone's. Well, I take it back. I mean, your show, people watch together. I've watched with my kids that one, maybe American Idol, Glee.
Right.
There are certain shows that do appeal to a broad spectrum. Appeal to families, and yours does, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Both of them, the video show.
You actually
and
have stars that go to your show, and they're in the audiences.
Yes. Yeah.
I would love to be an audience of Dancing with the Stars.
I know a guy who can get you tickets.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah!
Can you get us in?
Gotta hook us
Yeah,
up.
of course I can get you.
You mean to sit in the audience?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got tickets.
And we've got air conditioning.
Something. Do you really?
Woo!
Do you have good air conditioning there?
For the most part.
You make it cold, right?
Well, I can't on that show because we got to make sure the dancers are okay. On America's Funniest Videos,
When does it air?
it's pretty cold.
Yeah.
Well,
and you know where that
dancing
came from,
is
right?
live Monday nights,
Oh,
so you have to be in your seat 4:30 because we go live to the East Coast at 5.
Ooh.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's
We'll
do
remember
this.
that. Maybe we should go
Yeah.
we should do like a podcast from the audience. We're not allowed to talk though.
No, we can't.
We could
talk.
whisper the podcast.
Can we take pictures?
Yeah, and you have to kind of dress up. I'm not looking at you. I'm looking
We're
at
on camera too. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're in
pretty
the
much.
audience, you're on camera.
Yeah, and they kind of put my guests near where I'm.
Good
doing
shots?
the host.
Oh.
Yeah, you'll have some camera time.
My
We're
good
gonna see
side.
Craig's
Yeah,
face, just
yeah.
kind of making a pose.
Yeah, there you go.
I will watch. I will definitely watch what I'm wearing. Damn it! The cold thing. You know where that comes from? That's a classic too. It comes from Johnny Carson. Did
Oh,
you know
really?
that?
Did he keep it cold?
60 degrees, and then Letterman copied that.
Right.
And the reason is when you're doing stand-up comedy, as
Right.
opposed to today, you're supposed to be, your nerves are on edge,
Right.
and that causes laughter, as opposed to heat.
Right.
Brings
It
your whole
dissipates
alpha
energy.
state
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
and so on, and it becomes slower, like this interview.
No.
Wow. But we have our audience on camera for pretty much the whole show, and you don't want them just
Slowing
fading.
down. No.
Yeah.
Although
Now
we do it close to the video show. The dancing we do live. Videos we tape as close to live as one can with stopping down to talk about voting and all that. We do an hour show in about an hour 20.
And give me the top 3 lowlights of when someone fell on their ass. I know we've got Marie Osmond.
Oh, on the dancing
that-
show,
Yeah.
when Marie passed out. But there haven't been.
Can you
really...
do dual purpose shows, like bring that over to America's
Yeah,
Funny Home
yeah.
Videos?
We did have
I
a
feel
dual
like Christy
purpose.
Alley fell too.
Gilles Marini did a rumba, and he said he wanted people watching that rumba that it was so sexy that they would go make babies. And Carrie Ann Nava said, "Let the baby making begin." Threw her arms up and fell out of her chair. She fell backwards out of her chair. And I said, I ad-libbed. I said, when you said "let the baby making begin," I didn't think you'd get in position.
Oh.
And they left that in. They didn't bleep that. But we played that video on America's Funniest Videos too, and she came on and
you did
was
play the
Yeah,
video,
we
so
did
it
of her
was,
falling. Yeah, we
had-
did have
had dual
a little-
purpose.
My worlds collided, as George Costanza once famously said.
Well, it was a pleasure having you
Thank
here.
you. Pleasure being had.
Tom Bergeron, our special guest today.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you coming in, and you didn't get your Stephen Hawking joke in because
No.
I think you wanted to keep it clean here. I
No.
thought that was your best joke in the
Thank
parking
you.
lot.
Thank you. And that he's referring to my belief that Derek Huff does so well with such a variety of partners that we'll stick him with Stephen Hawking next season. Yeah. And you know what? He'll still win.
It was just as funny the second
Yeah.
time. Tom Bergeron, we're going to take a break.
All right.
We actually have Mike Farah, the president of Funny or Die. At least I got that
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
I go, videos or die. He's
And
the
they're
president of
funny.
Funny or Die. He's going to talk about the company and some of their videos that they've done.
I think Phil Rosenthal has a James Bond parody that they just released.
Ooh.
Well, maybe you can stay here and ask Mike
No, that's
Farah
all right.
the question.
I'm giving you some stuff.
I love that. Tom Bergeron giving me, maybe that I could have been the host of these shows if I would have been that quick.
Such a bitter man.
We're coming right back.
No bitterness at all.
Stay here with us.
Bye-bye.